I'm Guy Romendo, and I'm here to tell you everything about me and why I'm considered a pioneer in the field of genetics. I was born in Austria in 1822, where my academic abilities were recognized by the local priest, who persuaded my parents to send me away to school at the age of 11. I completed my gymnasium studies in 1840, and after that I entered a 2-year program in philosophy, where I excelled in physics and math in 1843. Then I decided to enter the Alba Monastery of Augustine Order, even though my dad expected me to work on the family farm. In 1851, they sent me to the University of Vienna at the expense of the monastery for me to continue my studies. I studied math and physics under Christian Doppler and botany under Franz Unger. Around 1854, I began to research the transmission of hereditary traits in hybrid plants. At that time, people thought that after many generations, the original traits would come back exactly the same. So for my experiment, I crossbred two pea plants with very distinct characteristics. These plants were pure, which means that all of their offspring were exactly the same as them. So when I crossed these two homozygous plants, homozygous means that they have both alleles for a certain trait. For example, this one has 2 alleles to be tall, and this one has 2 alleles to be short. When I crossbred these plants, I got as a result 4 phenotypically tall plants, but genotypically, they were heterozygous, which means that they had very different alleles. When I let these plants self-pollinate, they produced these results. They had 3 tall plants and a short one. Phenotypically, these 3 were the same, and genotypically, they were not. This plant had 2 alleles to be tall. This one had 1 allele for tall and 1 allele for short, and this one had them as well. This one had 2 alleles to be short. So these plants...
Mister, how did you cross-pollinate them?
Oh, that's very easy. For example, in a flower, you have a male part, and you also have a female part. So what I did is that I cut off these 2 parts.
Mister,
What is it?
this is the male part?
Yes, exactly. I cut off these parts of the flower, and then grabbed pollen from another flower and let that one pollinated it.
Thank you.
So, going back to what I was saying, I named these alleles dominant because whenever they were present in a genetic composition, they trounced over the recessive alleles. Based on my findings, I reached 3 different conclusions. You already know them, so I'm going to ask you to step up and talk about them. Alina.
The first law is the law of dominance, which states that when there are 2 different alleles in a cell, one will mask the effect of the other. This means that there may be alleles that are recessive and some others that are dominant.
Now, Anna, it's your turn. Step up.
The law of independent assortment states that during the formation of a gamete, one allele will segregate independently of the other allele, so there will be different characters. In this sense that the size and the shape will not depend on each other.
And the third and last law is the law of segregation. This law states that during the production of gametes, the 2 copies of each hereditary factor segregate, so that offspring acquires 1 factor from each parent.
My original goal when doing these experiments with pea plants was to create hybrid pea plants and observe the outcome. But I never imagined that my observations could lead to unusually prescient conclusions. By simply counting peas and keeping notes for 8 years, I managed to collect a new understanding of genetics, and I am convinced that it will not be long before the whole world acknowledge the result of my work.
Unit squares are an easy graphical way to represent the possible outcomes in a cross of 2 genotypically different organisms. For example, you have an organism with 2 alleles to be tall and an organism with 2 alleles to be short. So, you make a Punnett square, which is this little grid where you're gonna put the tall alleles here and the short goes here. So you cross this one with this one, and you get this, and this. Which means that all your possible outcomes from the cross of these two organisms will be phenotypically identical plants, but they will all be heterozygous, which means that they'll have a tall owl and a short owl. So, now I want one of you to come to the front and make a Punnett square for this. Me. Paulina, step to the front, please.
Yes.
Make a Punnett square. Okay. This is quite right.
Teacher, did you had any obstacles during your research?
So, as you know, I'm a monk. So a lot of people thought that my research had a lot of religious influence, but it didn't. Even so, a lot of people discredited and ignored my work because of that. Actually, I didn't have any money back then, so the church gave me all that I know. People also thought that my research was very similar to Darwin's, but actually, Darwin only stipulated the theory about genetic resemblance. I was the one that conducted all of the research and made my results